What's up, my people? In this video, I'm going to show you with my very special guest, Mr. Zack ROI Williams, how to get out of the rat race with your side hustle if you go all in. Stay tuned.
Jamal, man, this beat is crazy.
What's up, my people? Welcome back to another video. I'm Blake, but enough about me. I want to introduce this gentleman right here. He's been featured in Yahoo Finance and every other outlet that you can think of. I'm so happy I met this guy in a Facebook group. I mean, the power of social media. But without further ado, Mr. Zack ROI Williams has one of the fastest growing digital marketing agencies in the country, probably in the world. I'm so happy I met him. And, at this point, I know he's going to share a lot of value with you. So if you're not following him, by the end of this video, make sure you follow him on all platforms. So, Zack, thank you so much, man. Great to see you. You have an amazing studio. This is like, he posted it on his Instagram, but it's like seeing it in person is unreal. But let's get straight to it, man. So I know that you quit your job, 2 years ago?
2019, Thanksgiving of 2019.
So you're one of the hardest people I know, hardest working people I know. And you let that speak for yourself. I mean, I don't even know if you sleep just based on how much you post online. It's just amazing. But tell me, I guess I want to know, and for the people listening, what were your habits when you were working? Cause you were in car sales, right?
Yeah.
So I know your story, but they don't. So kind of tell your story, because for how many hours are in a day and how much you're still able to get done, still being a family man, being a husband, I don't know, please break that down.
Yeah, absolutely. So my entire life kind of has revolved some way, shape, or form around marketing and sales. I've been in the corporate game as, marketing coordinator, marketing manager, you name it. I've had that title in the marketing world. I think I even owned the title one time, global marketing officer. I don't know, whatever.
Wow.
Titles are made up. It's all about the skills, right? But, so I was always into marketing, and that kind of bled over into sales, which normally it's backwards, I guess. Maybe not, but, I ended up taking a job. I've worked for some pretty cool companies: Hard Rock Cafe, Harley Davidson, Ford Motor Company, Peterbilt, Red Bull, Mountain Dew. So I've had some really awesome opportunities in my life. Don't get me wrong. But I started from the bottom. You know what I mean?
Wait, those are your clients?
So some of those have been clients. Some have been who I've worked with in corporate America.
Well, I want you to keep you with your story, but I want to know, what did you do with Red Bull and Harley Davidson? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've had some experience, but I had to earn that, right? Before I ever got involved in marketing over 14 years ago, I was a sandwich slicer at Lenny's. You know what I mean? Literally worked my way from the bottom. So, a lot of times now people are seeing quote unquote success from us now, and they're like, oh man, whatever, you've been in marketing, or you had it that
must be nice.
Bro, don't get me started. There's a lot of people out there that want to, take the hard work away from you. And just a little side story about how I envision taking credit from someone where credit's actually due. There's a guy who actually is a client of ours that, he owns multiple nightclubs and bar and restaurants in Memphis. And, his dad started them all, left him a multi-million-dollar empire. And so this dude, at a very young age, his father passed away. I say very young age, in his adult career in life, left him a multi-million-dollar, empire. And so here he is at a young age, multi-millionaire. And, a lot of people would talk shit to him about that. Oh, man, is this a family-friendly channel?
Nah, say whatever you want,
all
man.
Right, cool.
I want you to be yourself, bro.
Right, okay, I'll be myself. So, he, a lot of people would talk shit about him. Like, oh, man, he just, his dad passed away and left him all this money and all these, clubs and stuff. And, it was funny because we used to promote events for him. I think I held events at 3 of his locations, and we would be in his locations at an event, and someone's talking shit about him. I'm like, you realize every time you're talking about him, where is he? He's over there. I'm like, yeah, he's here. working? Like, what's in his back pocket? They're like, a bar towel. I'm like, yeah, bro. Like, this dude might have been handed something, but like,
he's in the trenches.
He's earning his keep, right? He's earning his stripes. So, anyways, that's kind of how I look at, like, you know, yeah, I was in marketing before I started my agency, and yes, my agency's doing good, but I also had to earn my stripes to get there. I had to work my way up, and you know, you don't go work as a marketing coordinator for Hard Rock Cafe as just like a handout. You know, you got to do something impressive to get there. But anyways, yeah. So you know, it's been 14 years coming. Through that process of the 14 years in the marketing industry, at one point when I took, in fact, Harley Davidson stole me from Hard Rock. So
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, man, because I was working for Hard Rock, and I absolutely loved the manager. The manager that I've worked with there is hands down the best person to ever be employed by. I would say Julian Sally, he's incredible. Anyways, so I was working with him, and I put together this like massive event, right, that involved both Hard Rock Cafe and Harley Davidson, because I was like, those names just go together. If you just think about some iconic brands and who are two that you would just put together, I mean, Harley Davidson and Hard Rock Cafe, you know, it goes hand in hand. So I ended up developing this event that I wanted to throw involving both. So we had the meeting, you know, some of the general managers and stuff were all there. And it was funny because like a week or two prior, I had told one of my friends, you know, they were asking me how I liked my job and this and that. I was like, dude, I love what I do. Like Hard Rock's, dude, it's chill. And where they gave me a flat bill and a leather jacket when I started to work there, you know, I was like, these are my people, right?
That's you.
Yeah, right. And so you know, I was like, dude, I love it. It's like, you know, I will probably never leave this job. There's only two people that I think if they came knocking, I'd be like, let's do it. And that would be Harley Davidson and Red Bull. No bullshit. Like 2 weeks later, I'm at this event or at the meeting for the event, and I take control of the entire, you know, event and the meeting, and just kind of lay it all out there what my vision was for this event. And it was an ongoing weekly event. It was a bike night, you know, that we were going to be throwing. Mm-hmm. And after the meeting, one of the managers came up to me and he kind of bumped my elbow. He's like, you ever thought about working for Harley Davidson? And I was like, only every day of my life, you know?
Yo, that's amazing.
Yeah, man. So it was like super cool. So like, I think he like started it off as like a joke, like thinking like I wouldn't be like, well, fuck yeah, you know? And so like we started the conversation, and it was just crazy how it went from there. And I think within like 2 or 3 weeks I was working for him. So like the way I did it was, like I said, it was an event. It was going to be an ongoing event. So I went ahead and handled everything on the Hard Rock side of things for the event to make sure that whoever's going to be coming to take my place didn't mess anything up or didn't have any work to do. And then, you know, I went over to Harley. And so when I was at Harley, I did that for a few months, working as a marketing coordinator or marketing manager, whatever it was. And the GM came to me. He's like, man, you're like really good at like talking with people and like your communication and things like that. And people like you, right? And he's like, have you ever thought about like selling Harleys too? And I was like, I mean, yes, no, maybe. Like, I don't know. It was like, that's weird. I was like, I like my job. I was like, are you about to like downgrade me or like fire me or something? I was like really kind of caught off guard with the question. He's like, no. He's like, I'm just, you know, come to find out too, when you work for a single organization, whether it's Hard Rock, Harley, this, that, whatever, there's only so much in a corporate gig that you can really do in the marketing department, especially if you're a marketing manager and a marketing coordinator. You're just like at the top of the totem pole.
That's a good point.
You still have other people that fulfill some of this stuff. So a lot of it's just, I don't want to say sitting around, but you know, a lot of it's just coming up with strategies and thinking, right? So it looks like you're not doing a whole lot, but you're, you know, the projects that you put in place equate to millions of dollars or whatever the case. So, you know, there was a decent amount of downtime. But so he was like, have you ever thought about it? I was like, man, I don't know, I guess, right? And I was like, are you firing me? He's like, no, absolutely not, bro. He's like, but we've been thinking about like offering you like a hybrid position. I was like, all right, so what do you mean? And he was like, well, you could do both, just work your normal job doing marketing as you normally would.
Right.
And then like, as you've got like some downtime, he's just like, hit the sales floor and, see what's up. And I was like, all right. And so he's like, you cool with it? I was like, you just pay me my same salary and then just plus pay me commission on top of that for every bike I sell. I was like, I'm golden. And I wasn't expecting him to say yes, but he's like, let's roll with it. And I was like, shit, let's go.
So does that, I wanted to stop you right there. So does that happen a lot in your life where it's like, because I tell people all the time, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. Mm-hmm. So like, is that kind of like how you've always been? Like you negotiate for what you want? Like you don't just take what they give you?
Oh, yeah, dude. So you'll hear this story here in a second when we start talking about the Ford dealership. But yeah, 100%, man. I mean, at the end of the day, don't do anything that you don't want to do or that you think, I don't want to say is below you. Because I mean, like I said, I started as a sandwich slicer, but also I know if I'm making an organization millions of dollars a year, like you're going to come off that pocketbook just to keep me interested in it. Otherwise, someone else is going to come ask for me. And if they're going to show me the respect that I deserve, right, then I don't want to say I'm bound, I'm jumping ship. Our industry is much different than, even my parents, much less my grandparents. Some of them would go their entire life working at one place.
Yeah, it never happens.
No matter how much they enjoyed it or disliked it or got paid or didn't get paid, that was the norm, just like you graduate high school and you go immediately into college and you get a 4-year degree. Otherwise you're, not living American dream. Correct. Things are completely different. So, I go to where I feel valued, and that does not necessarily mean a dollar sign on a check, right? Like that can be the way they just treat me. I've taken pay cuts before just for a better quality of life. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Because also I know like if ultimately like I'm responsible for my income. Mm-hmm. So even if, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten raises before not even knowing it, like haven't even had a conversation, just been like, hold up, this check's different. You know what I mean? And it's all because like, you can get by and just do whatever's like required. But like, if you want to be exceptional, if you want to grow, climb the ladder, I mean, there's a lot that goes into, especially for me now as being like a CEO and founder of, a business. It's like, right. It's like if I see someone on the team that's like crushing it and going above and beyond, and, whether I have to ask them for something or they just see something that needs to be done and they're like, hey bro, I did this for you, whatever. Like that's a bonus. That's a raise. That's, like I want people to be incentivized. That's why like I love paying I love paying people. I love paying people. I love paying affiliates. I love paying employees, because I know that like if whoever it is, if you have employees that are incentivized, that money is going to come back to you with an ROI attached. So, if I'm paying an employee, I paid an employee $120,000 last year. You know what I mean? Like, and you best believe he made me more than $120,000.
Right.
So that's the way that cookie crumbles. And so you'll hear about in a little later at the Ford dealership what my experience was there. But yeah, so I mean, I was like, bro, you're coming to me, right? I'm not coming to you. So ball's in my court. So I was like, keep my salary the same and then pay me the same commission that you pay everyone else on the sales floor. And, not to like throw anyone under the bus or whatever, but, their pay rate was like, $10, $15 an hour plus commissions. And like my salary wasn't that, so like right. I was
eating.
I was straight, what I mean?
You were eating.
So that happened, and dude, I don't know what happened. I don't know what came over me. Like I guess I'm good at sales because, I went out there and dude, I started breaking records. Like I started getting, I literally, in my career at Harley, I think I got, I don't know, probably 8 different job offers all over the country to come work for them, all because they followed me because, you know, I use hashtags and stuff like that. And I started getting noticed, and I started showing up in the Explore page for people, and they started paying attention when all of a sudden this cat that no one's ever heard of is selling 4 Harleys in a day. You know what I mean?
Jeez.
Like,
and what's the average sticker price MSRP for a Harley?
I mean, average, you know, someone out there is going to like fact check me. I would say, you know, probably around 20 grand. You know, we got some that are,
Wow.
you know, bottom line, like 6 to 8 grand. And then you got some CVOs that are like, you know, 45 grand. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But I mean, dude, to kind of put it in perspective, like that day alone, I probably walked away with like, I don't know, 6 grand in my pocket or something like that.
And one day.
Yeah. I mean, I think the best month I did, it was like 22 Harleys. So it was a little over a Harley a working day. There's, you know, average 20 working days in a month. So it was like a little over 1 a day. 4 in one day, 6 in 48 hours. I hit 3 in one day multiple times. I mean, it was just fun for me. And, you know,
Wow.
that really kind of gave me that seller's high I didn't know I had. Because once you start getting into like automotive sales or any like high ticket sales, those commission checks are nice, bro.
Yeah.
You know, they're nice. So like that's where that like seller's high really started coming in. So anyways, like I said, I had multiple job offers. In fact, if I had been single, or maybe just not even single, if just we didn't have our daughter on the way at the time.
Shout out to Lottie.
Shout out Lottie, my girl. I probably would have taken this offer, but I got a job offer at Vegas Auto Gallery. It's like a premier luxury line. Like,
So they sell Lambos.
all they're doing is Lambos,
Yeah.
Ferraris. Dude, they've even got like, I like to think that I'm up on some of the luxurious vehicles because I'm a car head, but they had like some models that I've never even heard of, like some. And we're not talking like G-Wagons. We're talking like other types of Mercedes and Maybach SUVs that were like multiple 6 figures that I had no idea even existed. Stuff like that. But like, you know, it's out in Vegas. So
And they were going to pay them, have you move and everything.
everything, bro.
Wow.
And like, so like this place is huge. I mean, those are exotic cars. So their entire warehouse was like climate controlled. Like this was no joke. And I was like, babe.
Yeah.
I was like, it was like my boy Jay Bird out there. I was like, we got to roll out there. Shout out Cross Country Wellness.
Yeah.
And, you know, so anyways, so that happened. And I was getting noticed now, especially like in the sales world, because, you know, once I got into the sales world, again, power of social media, I started getting involved in like different groups on, you know, Facebook and stuff, and realized like if you're turning numbers like that, people notice.
Yes.
You know, and that kind of segues me into the next portion of the story was, so I was doing that for Harley, and I had a friend of mine that kind of approached me multiple times about going to work for Ford. And I was like, man, no, like I love what I do at Harley. You know, like just look at me, like,
Yeah.
like if you were to like look up the dictionary of like a Harley, like
You definitely fit the description, bro.
salesperson, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, so I was like, all right, you know, after, I don't know, she probably approached me like 8 times within a year, and not that you know, there was nothing wrong with my life. I just had a newborn baby. I had been somewhat newly married. Loved my job, loved what I did, made great money. But there was just, I could tell there was something missing. Like I just wasn't, I don't know what it was. I still couldn't tell you. Well, actually I know what it was. And it was that I wasn't working for myself, but I didn't know that at the time.
Why is that so important to you?
Working for myself? Dude. Let's hit on that after the story, because
Okay.
I think there's a lot that can go into that can apply to a lot of people. But so, you know, I just didn't know what was missing. Like I loved my wife, loved my daughter, loved my job, loved everything about it. And so finally there was one morning I was getting up for work, and then the girl had just reached out to me recently about, you know, going over there. And so I was putting my pants on. I'll never forget it. I was putting my pants on, getting ready to go to the Harley dealership to work, and I was looking at my wife laying in bed, and I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm going to go hear them out. Like, what's the worst that could happen? I was like, we've been praying about, like, what is it that's missing, or what is that next step, right? I was like, maybe this is it, and I'm just blowing it off. And one of the main reasons was, again, love my life. I love working for Harley. Love it. Absolutely love it. I lived, literally, I could get in my vehicle to drive to work, and the clock would not change. Like, I was like less than 60 seconds.
Wow.
Commute to the Harley dealership. So that had a lot to do with it. And the Ford was 45 minutes away. So I think that was, that was just like something to consider. And so, I was like, whatever, let me go hear them out. And so we set up an appointment to go out there. And I told my wife, like, hey, it'll be a while. It's, 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back, plus,
right.
Talk, chit chat, meet some people. I talk a lot, right? As you can tell.
This is good though, man. I didn't know this part of the story.
Yeah, man. And so I go out there and talk to him, and I ended up texting my wife like 2.5 hours later. And I was like, babe. She was like, what's up? I was like, I fucked up. And she was like, she goes into immediate, like, defensive, like, wife mode, or, she's like, oh no, baby, what
happened?
She's like, you didn't get the job. And like, I kind of feel bad because like how like rude it came across. I was like, what? No, I've been out here for 2.5 hours. I definitely got the job. Like, you don't spend 2.5 hours to find out you're not a good fit, right? So she's like, well, then what's wrong? I was like, I should have asked for more. And she's like, what? I was like, dude, everything I asked for. Yep. Okay, cool. Yep, sure. So I was like, dang, man. I mean, we're talking. So I lied earlier in the story. I got my timelines mixed up. My daughter wasn't here, but she was coming.
Gotcha.
So anyways, so we had our daughter was about to be born. So like, I was like, dude, my wife's about to have a baby. I was like, I've got 2 weeks off at the Harley dealership. It's like non-negotiable. I was like, in like 4 months, I was like, I got an anniversary trip planned, to Jamaica, going on it, like I was like, all this stuff. I was like, and I don't know if you know much about like automotive dealerships, but there is like no such thing as like 2 consecutive days off.
No,
like,
no. My dad's in automotive.
Yeah.
Sales.
I was like,
yeah.
I'm going to have 2 days off. I was like, you can pick the days. I'm going to have 2 days off. I gave them the price that it was going to cost, to get me. And dude, they just said yes to everything. And I mean, dude, it was crazy because like there was one day, because like I reached out, I was real nervous about making that jump because again, I loved what I did at Harley and I was good at it. And
it's further away though.
Yeah, and I didn't have a Rolodex for cars. Harleys and cars like is 2 totally different beasts. Now the argument there is, everyone needs a car, not everyone needs a Harley, right? Okay, so it is harder to sell Harleys, quote unquote. But the thing about a Harley is they sell themselves. When someone walks into that dealership, they either are going to buy one or they wish they had the ability to buy one.
It's true.
There's no other reason to go in. You don't just go to Harley to be like, oh, I'm bored today. Like, you like them.
Right.
So at some point, if you have the funds and the ability, you're going to buy it.
Facts.
It's just a matter of when. So, but I didn't have a Rolodex for like cars or anything like that. I knew what I had the capabilities of doing, but again, I didn't want to just go start over and work my way up, as far as like what we had, been doing. So, I went out there and, before I went out there actually, and even took the interview, I had reached out to several different people that I trusted in the automotive industry. And I was like, hey, this is what I'm going to tell them I want. And they're like, never. It will never happen. That's non-existent. They don't make guarantees. I had them guarantee me a salary. I had them guarantee me 2 days off.
I was about to say, yeah.
And they're like, dude, automotive dealerships don't work like that. And so, but I got it all, so like everyone was like shocked and this and that, whatever. And it was even so funny because I was walking through like my first day, kind of getting introduced to everyone and whatnot. And I was walking through the shop with one of the managers, and he was like, yeah, man. He's like, when are your days off? And like, we're just like walking through the shop. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I'm off Sunday, Monday. And like, it just kind of kept walking. And I was like, you just could feel that he wasn't there anymore. And like I turned around and he was like stopped like 12 foot back. And I was like, what's up? He's like, I've been working here for like 14 years and they don't give me 2 consecutive days off. And you got Sunday and Monday off. I was like, you should have asked for it. But, so that, yeah, dude, it was crazy how that cookie crumbled. And, turned out I was good at it, you know what I mean? And it was all about, and that's something that we'll end up getting into later, is just about like branding yourself. Sorry about that.
Yeah, because you were the tattoo salesman on IG for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so it was just crazy how it worked. I asked for all this, and then I was at like had a conundrum.
Yeah.
Where I was like, all right, well, I just had them promise me all this because I'm supposedly some badass salesperson. I was like, now I got to perform it, right? Like I got to come through strong.
Yeah.
So it was crazy because, like I said, dude, I was super nervous. Did not have like a connection of people that, I just had at the ready to buy cars and whatnot. So first day came around and they had told me it's like going to be 2 or 3 weeks of training. So you're not really going to be on the sales floor making money, which was one of the reasons I asked for a guarantee and all that. And so the first day came around and sold a car. Yeah. So I, made a big announcement, of course, where I was, this, that, whatever. And I had a buddy reach out to me. He's like, dude, I really need a car. Like my car crapped out on me yesterday. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out, you know? So, I kind of like walked around there. I don't want to say with my chest poked out, but I was like, I was proud. I was proud, So I was like kind of walking through. I was like, did you hear I sold a car? Like to my managers and the GM and stuff. And they're like, yeah, dude, that's awesome. Da, da, da. And, a few of them were kind of like, yeah, I sold a car on my first day. I was like, well, dang, bro, like just take all the wind out of my sails.
Right.
And I was like, tell your boy you happy, right? So, so that happened. So then, my second day came around, sold another car. Day 3 came around, sold another car. Day 4 came around, sold another car. Day 5 came around, I sold 5 cars in 5 days. My first week, no Rolodex, no nothing. All the power, like social media and marketing. So now my chest was poked out a little bit, especially for the guys that was like, shooting me down.
Right.
So I was like, hey, bro. I was like, I know you said you sold a car on your first day. I was like, did you sell 5 in your first week? And of course, some of them were like, yeah, beginner's luck. Let's see you do it again.
Wow.
Yeah. So week 2 comes. The first day I sold a car. Second day sold a car. Third day sold a car. Fourth day did not sell a car. Fifth day I sold 2 cars.
So you still did
so
5
I did 10.
week.
I did 10 for 10 in my first 2 weeks. And then that second month, that was like the latter 2 weeks of the month. That second month, I took off a week and a half or 2 weeks because Lottie was born. I can't remember how many I sold that month, but it was enough to turn some heads again. Like it was better than 10 for 10. So then my first full month comes around. So, my first month I worked there, first calendar month I worked there. I was only there for 2 weeks, went 10 for 10. The second calendar month that I worked there, I was off a week and a half or 2 weeks for my daughter's birth.
Okay.
And made some great numbers. But then the first full calendar month that I was there, I sold 26 cars in 1 month.
Jeez.
And to put that in perspective, the national average is 9.4. And I'm in like I said, I'm like 45 minutes away from like Memphis. Like I was like, the population was like 15,000,
Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah, dude. So that got me, like I got hosted on the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. Shout out ROI Williams. It was just such an experience. And that's where like I finally knew that like I was worth more. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't want that to come across wrong to some people, but it was like I was tired of, working for someone else and making someone else rich, because I'm a numbers guy too, and I'm very analytically driven, and I knew how much money I was making them, And again, I was getting paid good, but there was a few things that, in my personal opinion, if I was the owner, would be done a little bit different. But at the end of the day, even though I was making good money, and, I'll never forget this, and it's stuck with me since. And it's part of the reason I paid one of my employees $120,000 last year in my first year of business was he said, do you know who the most important person in a business is? I was like, no. He's like, it's your number one salesperson.
Yes.
Your number one salesperson feeds everything, right? And so that was like, I was like, that's going to be me, bro. Hands down, it's going to be me. And I made sure of it, right? And, so even though I was the number one salesperson, which, by the general manager's definition is the most important person in the dealership, right? Still didn't feel like the number one person. And not that like I needed to or anything, but I could just tell.
Could have been nice.
Yeah, right. At least just one day, Right. But, I just knew that there was something missing there. I knew that there was like kind of a gap in like the way, provisions were versus what was like, received. And
100%.
Yeah. And so it started just opening my eyes up to a few different things. A big thing that really made that come to light was, I was watching my daughter grow up through one of these, you know what I mean? And so, I ended up walking away. I only worked there for 6 months, but I turned $69,000 in gross profit in my bank account there. So, I was tracking for $140,000 a year. It was great money.
How old was Lottie when you stepped away, when you quit?
Like 6 months.
She was 6 months.
Yeah. So it was.
So that was the tipping point.
Yeah.
Dang. So I want to ask you, bro, because like you provide so much value. And like I said, make sure you follow this guy on social media because you're going to be entertained, but you're also going to be educated. So so did it take 6 months of you going all in, or did you just like jump and bet on yourself? Because a lot of people, bro, they're scared to take the leap. But like to get out of the rat, like, because I don't know your financial situation, and whatever you're willing to share or not share is cool. But I want to know like how long did it take for you to be like, all right, this is a calculated enough risk that I could just walk away because my side hustle is covering my salary or cover everything at home?
No, that's a great question. So, like I said, I don't know what that breaks down to. It's a little over $10,000 a month, and like maybe it was. I had some, $12,000, $15,000 months. So somewhere around there, over $10,000 a month, which is a very comfortable living. Mm-hmm. Especially at the time too, we were debt free. Like we had paid off all our debt and everything, which is an amazing feeling.
That's awesome, bro.
Yeah, it was an amazing feeling. Notice I said was. We'll get to, get to that later. But it's so I was making call it $140,000 a year, but I was working 10, 12 hours a day, watching my daughter grow up through a cell phone. And I was just like, this ain't it, bro. This is not it. And I'll tell you what the tipping point from me walking away was. I was in my finance manager's office, who me and him are super tight still to this day. This dude has, you want to talk about a story. This dude never graduated high school, was homeless for a while because his dad was homeless. He, what ended up happening is he was living with his mom, who was like a drunk, alcoholic, druggie, that her front door was like a revolving door of dudes just coming in. And, so he's growing up through that. And in fact, there was one, so proud of him. There was like one day while he's in high school. I can't remember the backstory, but anyways, he ended up breaking like a Coke can over one of the dude's noses. And so his mom like sent him to work or live with his dad, but his dad was fucking homeless. Right. Like what? What kind of mom are you, bro? Yeah. So anyways, so he was homeless for a little while, ended up dropping out of high school.
It's crazy.
And ended up taking a job at like 16 in a like a mechanic shop, like washing cars. Then he like turned into a mechanic, and then he did this, and then he got his first job like turning wrenches in a dealership, and then worked his way up there. Anyways, he's a finance manager now. Between I'm not putting his name out there, but he was making over $250,000 a year. So it went from being homeless, no education, whatever, to grinding his ass off. He definitely lives a good life, but he works more hours than I did. And it broke my heart when he made the comment, and when this was the straw that broke the camel's back, where he's like, yeah, man. Because, again, I was very entrepreneurial minded, very, like, I want side hustles galore. I want to, very entrepreneurial, multiple streams of income. And we shared that. So we'd always have conversations of what side hustles we wanted to do or just concepts. And he was like, yeah, man, I can't wait to hustle hard enough to one day be able to enjoy my grandkids' lives. And that's when I was like, fuck, bro, like, you make $250,000 a year, homie. Like,
right.
Like, when is enough? And not from his mindset, but just like, he was so devoted to that, like, making his money that specific way that, like, he had already written off the chance of being able to do, like, because what he was referring to is his kids play, like, baseball and basketball and soccer and this and that. And
he missing all that.
All of it.
Damn.
He had 3 kids, misses all the games, all of them. Where's daddy? When's daddy coming? Sorry, daddy's, providing. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's a whole nother podcast to talk about, like a father's internal mindset on provisions for the family, but that's what he thought he had to do, and they're just, I was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here right now and making some sort of change. I don't care if I have to take a pay cut. That ain't going to be me. $250,000 is fun. It ain't that fun. Wow. There was a couple of instances that led up to my departure. It was going to happen inevitably, but in all technicality, a slick got fired, which is a funny story in and of itself. Apparently, some of the managers don't really like it when they're handing you checks that are more than what they make, and so they start making your life hell. It's pretty much what happened.
Oh, yeah.
Just petty bullshit. And in fact, when that incident happened, I quickly got a phone call from the GM, and the GM was like, yeah, man, no, you can come back. And I was like, nah, bro, I think I'm good. I think that was like, my sign from God, like, you're ready. And so what it took, man, was like,
that was a blessing in disguise.
Oh, bro, hands down.
So did you have a like cushion of 6 months saved, or like were your side hustles already taken off that it didn't matter?
So it's a weird situation with me because I actually didn't have a side hustle at the time. Like, I knew what I was gonna do, but like it wasn't making me money or anything. Like, I was still in the preparation stage. So that leads me to definitely a super important point that I want to put out there for everyone listening is like, so what I've built now was all because it had a solid foundation. So I was working 10, 12 hours a day at the dealership, grinding for someone else. But then I would come home and put in about 4 hours of my own time after we put our daughter down. I would go work there, come home. My amazing wife would have, dinner ready, all that. We'd eat as a family.
Shout out to Heather.
Shout out. What's up, Gary? And then Blake might be a little distracted. There's like a half-naked picture of my wife in my studio. So like, come home, eat dinner. I would get like maybe an hour with Lottie before we had to put her down. So then I'd put her down, then I'd get to work on my, my goals and dreams and visions. It's one of my favorite memes is like, there's a picture of like some old ass dude like leaned up against like a Ferrari or I think it's a Lamborghini, and it's like, it says like, CEO and employee, like where they're talking, and it was like, the employee basically walks up to the CEO. He's like, hey man, it's a really nice Lamborghini. That's really cool. And so then it gives you the appearance like it's gonna be like some super motivational meme, and it's the CEO, and he's like, yeah man, he's like, if you work really, really hard and really dedicate yourself to the company and bust your ass, next year I'll buy another one.
Wow.
And it's like, that's just, it puts it in perspective, and so
Damn.
anyway, so I was working for them for 10, 12 hours, going home, hanging out with the family for 2 hours, and then putting 4 hours of my own time in. But for 9 months, all I did was train. So for 9 months, and that's actually 4 hours a day, what was that, Tuesday through Saturday. But then on Sundays and Mondays, I'd put more hours than that in, on it. And so I was just studying, training, watching tutorials, taking courses, not reading books, but like listening to podcasts, stuff like that. And I ended up in that time period. We did also, get the LLC and trade and market and the whole 9 yards. But there was not like income coming from it. So when I left, it was completely cold turkey. Now, granted, if you're making, $12,000, $15,000 a month and you're completely debt free, we had some money to live off of. We had a little bit of a cushion, but still, as far as like, bro, like there's a whole nother, as there's a whole nother feeling when, taking a leap of faith as being a single person, bro, I can sleep on a couch and eat ramen noodles for forever. But when you've got other people depending on you, it's a whole nother pressure on your shoulders to like provide. So, even though like I had faith in me and I had an awesome wife that supported me, like it was still nerve wracking, right? Like it's 3 mouths to feed. And side note too, again, another shout out to Jaybird is I called him the day that I was coming home from the dealership after the dude told me to leave. And this is how like you're fucking ready, right? And you've got a great support system. Definitely your circle of influence is huge. I called my boy Jaybird. I was like, bro, you'll never get this. He's like, what's up? I was like, I just got fired. And normally oh, bro, I'm so sorry. Like, do you need anything? Like, you can get through this, like a little pep talk. This motherfucker laughed, like belly laughed. All I get on the other side of the phone was like, like he knew, bro. Like he knew I was ready.
Time, yeah.
He knew I was ready. He was like, this is it, homie. This is it.
And he was already a full-time entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So he knew, you know what I mean? And, so I came home and I hadn't even told my wife yet. Now that call happened on my street. So it's like, brother, all right, let me get off the phone with you. I gotta go tell my wife now. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I go home and I walk in the door and I was like, hey, babe. She's like, what's up? I was like, it's time. I was like, we're going to go ahead and, do the damn thing. And she's like, shrugged her shoulders. She goes, all right, let's do it. And, dude, it's been history ever since. So to give you like some timetables, that was like around Thanksgiving. And I still didn't launch. Actually, there's the plaque that we used for the video. I didn't even launch ROI publicly until January 1st. So we went from Thanksgiving to January 1st, still doing foundational work, still doing training. Now, granted, I did pull in some IOUs. I did hit up a few people. I think we landed like, I don't know, maybe 4 clients.
Okay.
From like Thanksgiving-ish to New Year's. And it was a trial and error too. I ended up like one of my clients, I ended up working myself out of a job, like just doing, long story short, he was doing like real estate flipping, but it was his side hustle. And I ended up landing him in like 2 weeks. I landed him like 15 contracts, something ridiculous. All on accident too, slick, because I still didn't know. I definitely don't know what I know now, but like it was still some trial and error. But I did it. Like, I did what it took. It just, maybe it was beginner's luck. But anyways, so that dude walked away. He walked away from a 6-figure job and damn near lit that bitch on fire, talking about like, don't burn bridges. Like he basically was like, yeah, well, that job's history. Like, so I don't know what he did. He lost all 15 contracts.
Whoa.
So I don't know what he did behind the back. I don't know if like the deals just were no good or it was too rich or what the case was, but regardless, like I ended up losing that client. But
wow.
Yeah, man. But anyway, so dude, it's been one hell of a ride, but just maybe this can, be motivation to some people. And normally I wouldn't talk about stuff like this, but like I said, walked away from $140,000 a year job to start this cold turkey. And again, it was all about quality of life. I wanted to spend time with my family. I didn't want to watch my daughter grow up. And, now fast forward, I wake my daughter up every day. I put my daughter down for her nap, like probably 2-3 times a week. I definitely get her up from her nap 3 or 4 times a week, maybe even more. And I put her to bed every night. Like, that's
what's up, man.
You know what I mean? And, but thank you. Yeah. I walked away from $140,000 a year, went in cold turkey. My entire goal was for the first year just to make ends meet, pay bills, which wasn't a lot. Like I said, we were debt free. I think all I really would have had to do is like sell like $2,500 a month, and I would have been golden. But anyways, just to put it in perspective and maybe a little motivation, when you do your foundation right, you do the actual fucking training and you learn what you need to learn. Our first year, I was pissed off because we did, what was it? We did $11 we were $11 a day shy of doing $1,000 a day, and not a working, not
about the whole 365.
300. So we did $361,000 in our first year, from January 1st, 2020 to January 1st, 2021, and I think I pocketed on my tax returns, I think I did like 138.5. So I walked away from almost $140,000 a year job to make $140,000 a year for my fucking self.
Respect. So, man, incredible story. And I mean, he has another story about the motorbike. We're going to have to do another episode for that, man. I mean, that almost made me cry on Clubhouse, but I ain't going to lie. But anyway, you just talked about some of your habits, and I want you to break down the habits of going all in and trusting yourself and having your wife as a support system to not feel like you have to go back to the job. Because some people, they take the leap of faith and they're always like, damn, I might have to go back to my job. But what were the habits that you instilled that prevented you from ever looking back?
No, that's a great question. So there's a few different things. I mean, first and foremost is I use social media for accountability a lot of times too, because it's I feel like if I put it out there for the public,
same way.
Now I got 5,000 eyes staring back at me, right? Oh, bro, why didn't you do that? First thing you said to me was talking about 75 hard. Everyone knows I'm on 75 hard. If all of a sudden next week y'all see me drinking a Bud Light, you're gonna be like, bro, you fake as hell.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Capping, yeah. Right. So it's it's like that level of accountability. So when I was out there, business owner this, business owner that, trust me this, trust me that. No one. Well, let me back up, because that's gonna push some people back about doing a side hustle. Some people, and this isn't, I'm not saying it's not fair or whatever. Some people look at side hustles and just think, if you're not fully, dedicated to this, then how do I know you're gonna be fully dedicated to me or my account or whatever? Coming from a marketing agency, if you were still working at 7-Eleven and you were like, hey, let me be your marketing guy, and you were doing it on the side, some people would look at that and be like, well, if you're only half in with the business, then you're only going to be half in with me, right? So I'm not saying that you can't do it, because there's a lot of people out there doing it, but if you are, just be strategic about how much information they know. But I digress. So I was just letting it known in the world, this is who I am and this is what I'm here to do. You know what I mean? And so I use that as some accountability. A lot of it, and so some of it does come in pride. Once you make that leap of faith and become your own boss, man, I don't know how you could ever go back to being someone else's employee. You know what I mean?
100%.
It would be a tough pill to swallow, and so I definitely knew I didn't want to go back there. But the majority of it too, and my daughter, man, like, and my wife, but, mostly my daughter, missing those super important moments in her life. Like, just, there was no amount of money. Like I said, dude, we were debt free, living off 25. I could have gone and, driven pizzas and made enough money to live off of, you know what I mean? Like, so like, like I would be willing to do that and still experience my daughter's life. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But once I realized, like, Zach, like, you for real got your shit together here. Like, there's like a fire inside of me to just take it to the next step and the next step and the next step. And, so a lot of it came to the fact that I knew that if I put the work in now, that I could, bro, my plan, and I'm on track for this, I'm going to be retired at 45. You know what I mean? Like, I got a book right there, The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss.
Yes, man.
I won't be Tim Ferriss. I don't think I could ever work a 4-hour work week. But I'm definitely going to work very, very significantly less than I am now. But I knew, I looked my wife in the eyes and I said, look, so I'm going to give this 12 months and I'm going to bust my ass and give it everything I have to ensure that this works. And I promise you, I'll back away some. And she was like, okay. And I'm not here to say that it wasn't, hard, because there was definitely a lot of tension throughout that process several times. People ask me all the time, when, basically what you just asked me, like, how do I know I'm ready, or when is the right time, or should I do this? And I tell people, I will never tell someone, quit your job and go into it full time if you are, have a family. Mm-hmm. Because I know the stresses that come along with it. There's going to be nights where you don't go to bed because you're worried about how you're going to make ends meet. There's going to be nights that you fight with your significant other because you're stressed out about money, or you're stressed out about this, or you're stressed out about that. And it just happens to come in between y'all. There's going to be times where you're looking at your daughter and you start crying because you have no idea how you're going to make it through next month. I know that shit's real, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but in the same fucking breath, I'll tell you it's the best decision I've ever made for my family.
Wow.
And so, I looked at my wife in the eyes and I said, I'm going to give this 12 months. I'm still going to experience life with y'all. I'm still going to be here to wake Lottie up, put Lottie down, spend time with you when need be. I'm going to make some time, but I'm going to be working some 14, 16 hours a day. Sometimes I've put in 18 and 20 hours a day. So I was like, just give me a little bit of faith. I know that I can do this. And if we can get through this first year, we can get through anything. And sure enough, we busted ass that first year. But again, bro, we turned $361,000, and it was all about, just putting in the necessary work. I had money to do fun stuff. I had money to do whatever, but I knew that it was still time to grind. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't have it to get to that future. And I was constantly, man, like learning. Like, so, Russell Brunson talks about in one of his speeches about the psychologically and, going back to what I was talking about, the American, life, how you're supposed to graduate and go to college and so whatever. So there's like a psychological, like, I don't know, economical, I don't know what you want to call it, but like in the world, people think the average person, when they get done with college, they are done learning.
Yes.
They feel as if they've learned everything that they need to get by in life. And, there was one thing in one of Russell Brunson's books where he was talking about, he was like, I am probably the most coachable person in the world. And like, as I'm reading it, I'm like, no, you ain't, motherfucker, I am, but it's like a healthy competition. Cause I was like, hell no. Like, I need someone to teach me something. Like, I'm constantly learning. And, you know what I mean? And I could sit here, we could do a whole nother podcast on things I've learned and ways I've overcome learning quote unquote disabilities with ADHD, or just not even being able to really read that good and things like that. At the end of the day, it's just an excuse. The information's out there. You just got to go get it. So I was constantly learning. We're talking about I think for a year, I don't think I ever listened to music, because if I had headphones in, or if I was trying to quote unquote distract myself or get away, it was a podcast, it was an ebook. Like for an entire year, I literally, like, we're talking about in the gym, you know, I listened to heavy metal, rock, this, that, whatever. It was none of that. I was listening, you know, to the 4-Hour Work Week on, you know, audiobook. I was listening to Andy Frisella on podcasts. You know, I was any type of dude there. I was even pulling up YouTube's video, like tutorial videos, and just in my head imagining what they're talking about as they're walking through like computer layouts. Dude, I would pull up, you know, I had dual monitors. I'd pull up a YouTube tutorial on one side and pull the actual program or whatever it was I was trying to learn on the other side. Watch them do it. You know what I mean? Spending money on courses. Dude, I can't tell you how much money, tens of thousands of dollars I spent on coaches and training courses.
Wow.
I can't remember who it was that said it or quoted it, but this has stuck with me for a while too, is you're a product of how you spend your money. So like,
that's a bar.
Right?
Wow.
So like, I realized once I started spending good money, like thousands of dollars on training courses, I knew then that like I could ask for thousands of dollars in return from clients.
That's amazing.
So, you know, that was one thing that like really struck home with me. Because I mean, at the end of the day, what's your time worth? You could spend 6 months on quote unquote free YouTube tutorials, spending your time, wasting your time, either getting bad advice or just spending the amount of time it takes necessary to find one thing that's applicable and then go find something else that, you know, relates to it. You just spend a lot of time versus you can go straight to the source. And the biggest thing is finding someone that, you know, you look up to that's within your industry or niche. Like for me, you know, Tony Robbins is a great speaker. He's a great motivational speaker. I have no business spending a ridiculous amount of money to join his millionaire masterminds or pay for his courses, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be a motivational speaker. Right. So I've invested in Ty Lopez. I invested in Billie Jean. You know, I invested in Frank Kern. So those are the people, you know, I'm taking influence from people that are in a position that I will be in one day. Not, you know, yeah, it's great and it's good information, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, if it's not in line with your goals, you're really just kind of wasting your time. So, you know, constantly learning, bro, is that's probably the number one thing that's gotten me to where I am today, because if I don't know it, I'm going to learn it.
100%. So like getting your side hustle to turn into a salary for you, because you did 140 last year. Like, I know there's probably been moments where you might have doubted yourself, or like you've had these dark thoughts like, man, is this really going to work? Like, how do you get through that, bro? Because I mean, I have them. I'm sure the people watching have them too. Like, but just seeing, I'm on the outside looking in, obviously, but like seeing how you deal with adversity, people hating on you, stealing from you, just your story about the motorcycle like accident. Like, how do you deal with that, bro?
Man, it's hard to answer, because like I've not always been mentally who I am today, obviously, right? So your mind, just like anything else, you've got to train it. You've got to get it. We're sitting here right now recording a podcast, or a webcast, I guess is what this is called. Recording a webcast with a Category 4 hurricane that's about to hit us in 48 hours.
Yeah, we got to get out of town. Yeah.
So like the mindset is like, you know what?
Are we not panicking about it? Right?
Well, there's not shit I can do to stop a Cat 4 hurricane. Like this house, levees. This house is probably gonna get messed up, just like it did just a few months ago. You know what I mean? Like shit's gonna happen. Can I control it? No. So why sit here and stress about it? All you got to do is pivot and move on. So, you know, I haven't always been in this mindset, you know. Again, we'll save the motorcycle wreck for another one, but I was in a horrific motorcycle wreck, $1.2 million in medical bills. Jeez. Destroyed my life, basically. Well, destroyed my life or made my life. You choose. But, you know, it was a really bad situation. And I really had my wife, you actually probably don't even know that. The last 2.5 weeks, but the last month for sure, the last 2 weekends we've spent in ERs because my wife had a life and death blood clot in her leg. So like we were literally like spent the last 2 weekends in a ER because my wife could have literally like moved wrong and this blood clot could have gone to her lung or heart and killed her. You know what I mean? She's good now. We had the surgery on Friday and removed it. But you know, like there's always gonna be something, you know. Damn, and it's just like, so like, all right, you know, when you buy a new vehicle, right? Mm-hmm. You start noticing them more, right?
Yes.
It's because you're paying attention to it.
Correct.
You start paying attention to all the negative shit, you're going to start noticing a lot more negative shit. You start paying attention to the good shit that's going on in your life, you're just going to start recognizing a lot of good shit.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. And actually, one of those signs came from after my motorcycle wreck. So I was in the hospital for 6 weeks. Crazy. They wheeled me out to the car finally to go home, and I was just staring at the sky because it's the first time I had seen sunlight in 6 weeks, you know what I mean? And a red male cardinal flew by. And I was sitting there, I was like, you know, when was the last time I've ever seen a red cardinal? And it just goes to show that, like, maybe I've seen a bunch of red cardinals, but I just haven't I haven't slowed myself down in life and reality to like accept the fact that, hey, I do have eyesight where I can see a red cardinal. I can go here, there, you know, we could sit here and have a conversation all day long about stuff like that. Yeah. But, you know, it's stuff like that. So I started, you know, from that point on, like I could have died. I should have died. You know, it's insane the amount of, you know, things that happened to me where I should have died. But anyways, I was still here. So like, what was that? So that's kind of one of the things. And now you don't have to have a catastrophic, you know, life event to get your shit together. And there's been a lot of times since then where, you know, there's been crazy things that have come up where, again, at the end of the day, there's two ways to go. You can go and bitch about it, or you can go do something about it. And, you know, so every time I face like quote unquote adversity or whatever you want to call it, I think it makes me stronger now because I've finally gotten to that mental state of like, at the end of the day, bro, if I don't have control over it, it's not worth my mental capacity to think about or focus on. Like, it's just focus on the next step.
That's an interesting perspective. So you don't even worry about it if it's out of your control.
Dude, my house is probably going to get flooded in the next 48 to 72 hours. Is there anything I can do about it?
Yeah, I hope not, man.
I hope not either, but like,
yeah, but there's nothing you can do.
There's nothing I can do about it, you know? So it's a pill I got to swallow. So instead of sitting here and like letting it piss me off, you know, it sucks. We, you know, got to move forward, you know what I mean? And you know, dude, going out on your own and, you know, turning your side hustle into a salary, there's risks. Shit's gonna suck. I mean, dude, I've had one of my, so now I actually own, you know, a portion or a majority or even a minority of multiple different businesses now.
Shout out to Dank Vodka.
Shout out Dank Vodka. What's up? You know, shout out Cross Country. Shout out KES. Shout out. Dude, I could go on for a little bit. You know, but one of my companies one day, you know, took them from an annual salary of $42,000 a year for the past 3 or 4 years that they'd been in business to over $500,000 in 9 months. And I was making great money. You want to talk? So my marketing company was my main baby. This would, I guess you would consider it a side hustle, but it kind of runs parallel with the marketing because I was doing marketing for them. But I was a business owner. Mm-hmm. I was an equal parts business owner. So I was making pretty good money. You know, equal parts of $500,000 is a decent amount of money.
Yes.
So just woke up one day with passwords changed and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So that's a tough pill to swallow. Like I said, the marketing company was my main breadwinner, but you know, when your side hustle is making you $12,000 a month and then it just disappears, like it stings a little bit. If it was $1,200, it's a little bit easier pill to swallow, but 12 grand a month, you feel that, you know what I mean? Especially because, you know, we were projected, you know, our projections were ridiculous. So like, if I had known that it was going to stop, it wouldn't, you know, have affected me. But I had plans with that money, right? You know, I knew it was going to come, right? So
it was a contract.
Yeah. You know, I've had that happen in business. I woke up one day, my wife had to hold me as a grown ass business owner, crying in her lap because I woke up one day with my business bank account negative $69,000 because one of my clients decided that they wanted to do a chargeback for the last 3.5 months worth of work. Talk about shitty, bro.
That's what I'm saying, dude. It's like, I know you have your dark times, and like, I appreciate you sharing that. Cause like for me, that helps me, but also everybody listening. Cause I mean, bro, like as far as your mindset and just what you've been through it's crazy. 69,000. So I'm assuming you were able to resolve that and recoup it, huh? Or did the bank give it back?
No, not yet.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was like, I don't know, 8-9 months
and that would
ago.
break most people.
Yeah.
So like, when you say you do marketing, I know what you do, but could you break down like what are you doing for these companies, like when in terms of marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. So you know, same thing as Blake. You know, I call ourselves a full spectrum digital marketing agency, and the reason I call it full spectrum is that we literally do everything. You know, once you start getting into anything that's like involves a computer, right? People just assume you can do anything on a computer. Like, I can't tell you how many times I get like IT questions. I'm like, bro, I ain't the one. And vice versa. I got friends, you know, like my director of IT, you know, when he's out there, people just assume that, oh, you can fix computers, then can you build my website, or can you take care of my, you know, social media? And it's like, no, you don't want me doing that.
It's different.
You know, so the kind of the way we've established this business is I can do everything. Like I said, I spent so long training, and I'm still training. I mean, I got bookshelves, and I'm probably in 3 different courses right now. You know, I've got, you know, coaches and mentors that I've paid a ridiculous amount of money for, and, you know, have levels of accountability on. Like, I'm constantly learning. So if there's something bro, like, you got to think about it. People spend money with who they trust, right?
100%.
So if I know I'm kind of chasing a rabbit hole here to answer your question. I promise I'm going to answer your question.
Do you think?
You know, so if, say for example, we're running social media, and that's like how we started, where we were like, we're a social media marketing agency. We manage people's social media and we do paid advertising. Mm-hmm. I would be an idiot because people trust people that they. You know, people trust people that they trust. People will pay people that they trust.
Correct.
More often than a stranger. So, say for example, I've got 10 clients and I'm managing 10 client social media, and 8 of them ask me for a website. Guess what the fuck I'm going to learn how to do?
Website.
I'm going to learn how to make a website. So,
or outsource it, or would you rather outsource it? Would it be worth your time to learn it or outsource it in that case?
So it goes, that's a great question. So it depends on how you're setting your business up. I always recommend outsourcing first until you feel like your organization can sustain it, because you don't want to bring on someone that, you know, is 60 grand a year as a web developer and you land, you know, one website.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They're a liability now.
Yeah. So it depends on how you want to set up your organization. Now, I definitely recommend outsourcing until you can pull someone in-house. There's also a lot of benefits to outsourcing and having, you know, VAs and things of that nature. So that's definitely a conversation to have on, you know, what is it that you're getting paid the most to do, right? And at what point do you feel as if having an in-house person, the benefits outweigh outsourcing? Okay. Because it is what it is. Unfortunately, a lot of people look down on, you know, out of the country, you know, VAs. They just, for whatever freaking reason, they assume they can't do as good of a job as an American. And that's the most bullshit thought process I've ever heard of. If you pay someone to build you a website and they build you a website and it looks great, who cares?
Right.
it's small-minded stuff. But anyways, that's one thing to take into consideration too, but we've got 13 employees currently. I like having people that know that they're going to be a part of something and be around. There's a gentleman that I met with because I asked him at the beginning stages or halfway through our first year. He's a dentist and he's worth $300 million. And I don't know if you know much about dentists, but it takes a lot to make $300 million, right?
Yeah, I want to talk to you that like off the podcast. Like, what the hell did he do?
Yeah, so essentially he scaled his business. He found what works and he duplicated it. So, I'll talk to you about that, and we'll probably do another episode on that. But
we have to.
But it's just insane, and so he's worth $300 million bucks. So when he talks, I listen. And so I asked him, I was like, it's like, here's where I'm at. I know I've got something good here, and I want to take it to the next level. Like I want to be worth $300 million, right? Like, how do you get there? And he said, hire fast and hire often. I'm like, what? I was like, I think I understand what you're getting at. I was like, but I just want you to clarify so I can make sure I'm taken away from this. And he said, hire fast, hire often. He said, I'll kind of put it in perspective this way. If you were going to start growing your business, and at some point you got to take a pay cut, and that pay cut means in the future you're going to make ultimately more money, would you start that sooner or would you start that later?
Sooner.
Right. So say for example, making $360,000 a year. If I were to hire someone, it's going to cost me $50,000. But if that person that I hire for $50,000, 361, that means I'm only going to make $311,000 now. But then after a certain amount of months, once that person gets trained up or whatever, they're going to make me, $300,000. You might as well start that now. Plus, there are some people out there that say hire fast, fire fast, right? Mm-hmm. You get someone in, you find out if they're a good fit or not, and then you send them on their way, right? And it's all about scalability. Like, would you rather continue living your lifestyle the way that you would right now? Like, I live a pretty decent lifestyle. I want to hire as many people as I can right now and quote unquote take that pay cut while I'm living comfortable versus just trying to go out and buy the $1 million house and buy the Lamborghini or buy this or buy that and then be like, all right, well, now I got to send out about $400,000 a year in salaries. So now I got to reverse my lifestyle. So I've ramped my lifestyle up and I'm living hard. I'm, doing this, doing that, and making all these trips. And then I got to go backwards.
Nah, we ain't going backwards.
No, stair stepping it. So, I hired my first employee. I think it was month 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. And then it only took like 2 or 3 months after that. And then I hired like 4 or 5 like at once. And then I've just been adding to the team since then. We've lost some crew members since then.
It happens.
I've had employees walk away with 2 of my 6-figure clients. Like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, it just life, business, but definitely life. I kind of relate it to the stock market, man. If you pull up my investments right now, it probably looks like a bloodbath. But if you back out of it, it's nothing but green. It's nothing but a stair step up. So, life, you're going to start having these moments where you're like, oh, this is the worst it's ever been, or, oh my God, this is so bad, or whatever. But then you go back and think about how far you've come in 6 months, 12 months, 3 years. Dude, my life's been nothing but up. There's been some shitty days, don't get me wrong, but my life is great. I'm about to get flooded in 48 hours. You know what I mean? Like,
he's stuck on that.
But life is great. As long as I'm mentally prepared for it, it is what it is.
So just a couple more questions, bro. Because this has been great, man. I've actually learned a lot. I just want to ask you, like, what are some good ideas? Because not everybody may not want to do marketing who's watching this. They may want to do other side hustles. And I know you've done clothing and other brands, but like, what do you recommend as a good side hustle to help you get out of your job if you go all in?
Whatever the fuck you like to do.
Okay.
I don't think you should chase a dollar sign because ultimately you're going to cap out.
What do you mean by cap out?
Okay, I owned a clothing company, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe that's a bad example because I actually liked what I did. All right. For example, roofing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Roofing is crushing it.
Yes.
Crushing it. One of my best friends has a roofing company here, and he's fucking killing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so stoked for him. I don't care how much money there is in that. I don't want to be on top of a roof, hot as shit all day long, lifting heavy stuff. I don't want to do it. So if I'm chasing the dollar, I'm going to get burnt out. I'm going to cap out on that.
That makes sense.
I'm going to, at some point, enough's going to be enough, and I'm not going to be happy. Versus, if you do something that you love, literally the sky's the limit. You love talking about it. You love networking about it. I love talking business. People all the time, like, on the weekends or like after hours or something, or if me and Heather go somewhere, go out to eat and someone recognizes us or whatever the case may be, they start talking to me about business or asking me questions about business. And they're like, well, like, you know, I know it's not during business hours. I don't want to bore you with this. I'm like, bro, I love this. I love talking about business.
You live this.
I live this day in and day out. You know, I honestly piss my wife off so much I talk about business. You know what I mean?
You really live it, bro.
So, you know, if you wanted to do something other than marketing, because marketing isn't everything, start with something that you love. And again, going back to always be learning, like constantly be learning about it, because I don't care if you're selling a product, there's always a better way to find a better distributor, a better wholesaler, a better vendor, a better affiliate, a better, you know, social media influencer. If you're selling a service, there's always better ways to get your message across. There's always, you know, there's always something better. And if you love what you're doing and that's your baby, when you're quote unquote working, it's not going to feel like working. So that's where you can live a lifestyle like what I live, where, you know, I talk business 24/7 because it's something I love. It's something I'm passionate about. It never feels like work. So like, I'm always willing to do it. So when I'm always willing to do it, I'm always meeting people that I should network with. Like I've got a billionaire's phone number that I could call right now.
With a B?
Yes, with a B. He owns multiple different patents. One of which is the swiveling trailer hitch for trucks.
Oh,
he owns
okay.
the patent for that. His 3 patents alone make him $54 million a year. But like networking, yeah. Bro, $54 million a year before your head ever comes off the pillow.
I was gonna say, like, so is what work is involved once you got the patent is nothing, right?
No. Because people pay you
to use it. Yeah.
So, you know, but I wouldn't. If I hated marketing and I just didn't talk about it as freely as I did, I would never have come into contact with the person that is that guy's contact. Like there's always people you can talk to that have a connection that you need, and a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So
that's true.
As you're living a life and doing something, I don't care if it's you want to be a personal trainer, then do that. I don't care if you think that there's not a whole lot of money in it. There will be if you make it. If you want to get into real estate, if you want to get into hair and makeup, if you want to get into a clothing company, a marketing company, if auto detailing company, like I guarantee you, if you do enough research out there, you will find someone that is a millionaire doing what you want to do, and go find them and study them and figure out what the fuck it is they're doing that you're not, and do it.
All right. So I guess, I definitely I got one more question, but before I do, I don't want to forget, man, how does everyone find you, and how can they get their hands on that amazing ebook you wrote, man? Because I guess the biggest takeaway I got was like when to outsource and when to bring in house. I think like, and then like how you give in like a market analysis plan before you actually execute. I just like write something up and just go with it. But but just taking that step back, looking at the bigger picture has really helped me out. So that was a really great ebook. You honestly should have charged for it, but I know what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what? So how can I get the ebook?
Yeah, absolutely. So www.roiebook.com. It's a free ebook. It's a lot of information. The biggest thing is do it. It's free, man. I could care less if you do it or you don't do it, because it doesn't benefit me at all. It's free. I gave it out for free, right? So the only person you're hurting when you don't is you. So go out there, read that. You can pretty much find me on any social media by Zack, Zack ROI Williams .com, but Zack ROI Williams, pretty much on any social media. In fact, you can actually go to ZackROIWilliams.com
Nice.
and get in contact with me that way. ROI Marketing Firm.com, and stay tuned. We've got a training course that's going to come out for this specific thing. It's all about helping people turn their side hustle into a salary. And it basically takes you step by step on what you need to do to set up your LLC, to set up your business, to make sure your bank account's set up. Because ultimately, it doesn't matter how much money you make; it's how much money you keep. So how to do your taxes, to keep Uncle Sam's hands out of your pockets. Teaches you how to do all that, and then I'm going to teach you how to take like I said, what you love, because that's what you need to do. You need to do something you love. I'm going to teach you how to take that, and I'm going to teach you how to look at your competitors and how to figure out what worked for them and what didn't. That's the benefit of, I've been able to work for some Fortune 100 companies. I was able to take what they were doing and apply it to my little business and get here. And now I know how to look at my quote unquote competitors, see what they're doing, evaluate if it works, if it's working well, or if it, could use some improvement or at least my twist, apply it, and it's game over. So, Zack ROI Williams, check me out.
So I say this question for last because it may be a little bit difficult, but like, if you want to use multiple, you can. But what is the most valuable marketing tip that you can leave us with that gave you the most ROI? Was like the epiphany, the light bulb that just like helped you take your business off? Like, what is that marketing tip? Like, what's that sauce, bro?
Honestly, man, I guess you could call it "don't be a lazy piece of shit." But realistically, though, what I mean is like split testing. Okay. Test everything. Analytics do not lie. I've been doing this for 14 years. I've been doing this for a very long time. And, if you had asked me back then how to market your business, I would have told you to put a fishbowl on your counter, collect business cards, and email them all one by one. And guess what? It would have worked. It worked back then.
It did.
That doesn't work anymore, And the only way to find what works and what doesn't work is using the analytics. And you don't get analytics until you start testing things, because you've got to have comparables. So, when you read the ebook, or when you go through my training course, or when you pay attention to Blake and he teaches you things, you're going to learn how to do marketing. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you've got to learn how to read those analytics, put them side by side, and dictate what works and what doesn't. Because at the end of the day, like I said, 14 years, I don't think that I know it all. I've got a pretty good idea on how some things should be laid out. But guess what? I do all that stuff, and then I let the analytics tell me what's working and what's not working. There's a thing called like emotional decisions. And I deal with this with clients all the time, where they tell me who their ideal demographic is or who their avatar is. And they're like, oh, it's a female ages 18 to 26. I know for a fact. Realistically, that's who they want their following to be. That's who they want their ideal demographic to be.
Bro, I'm so glad you brought that up.
But then we start running tests. We throw it out there. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Mr. Customer, but it's actually males that are 24 to 32. That's actually who's buying the stuff. Because you think that because you're selling them this type of product or that type of product, that it's for women or this or that, but you didn't realize that this is like a romantic gift type product. So even though the consumer is your 18 to 26 year old female, it's the dudes that are buying it for the girls.
Yeah, bro.
So it's stuff like that. So split testing. The analytics don't lie. So,
much love, bro. Again, you have a dope studio. Can't wait to come back. And I know it's only up from here. Like, I know it's going to be bigger and better. I don't think the hurricane's going to wash it out, bro, because you've been through enough already this shit with having to be out of your house, man. But definitely follow Zack. You will see him around because he's everywhere now. Like, I remember your Instagram Hold on. I want to say this too, because when I first started following you like a year ago, I wanted to say you had like less than 15K, bro. You're over 100K followers now on IG.
Yeah, man. So it's like,
That's crazy.
It's cool. Don't get me wrong. So like, long story short, because I know we're in it, like we just did an event in Costa Rica for 2 weeks at a millionaire mastermind, and I was there speaking to these 7 and 8 figure earners about how to market their business.
Right.
Well, while I was there, one company, but 2 of the guys that were there speaking as speakers were they are Instagram specialists, and like one of them has over 1 million followers. He's verified. The other one's got 750,000, and so I will say it's cool. Don't get me wrong, I like seeing it, but like, and I'm not saying that they're fake followers by any means, but I've gotten some shout outs and stuff, and like when they tag me, I definitely get an influx. But like, it's cool, and it kind of gives me some credibility. But once you start looking at some of the like
analytics,
the analytics, like, which is something that I've been trying to focus on and learn myself for my customers, because the algorithm, as you know, is always changing, and right now I think it's the most ridiculous algorithm I've ever heard of.
Yes.
With people saving, so everyone that's out there, your Instagram currently is your algorithm, and who it gets shown to is based off weights. And right now, the highest weight is when people save it. They hit the little ribbon icon on the corner that saves it into your saves. And then it's shares, like DM shares. Mm-hmm. And then it is comments, and then it's likes. The thing I hate about that most is I know for a fact for myself, and probably every other consumer out there that just, I don't know, other than the small portion of people that do this, is if I'm going to save it, I screenshot it.
Yes.
And so then that doesn't count. You've got to literally click that ribbon to quote unquote save it on Instagram. And then shares, DM shares. I don't think I've ever done that.
I have. I did it today, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I always just hit the 3 stars, copy the link, and I send it. So that doesn't count either. You know what I mean? So the algorithm sucks. But anyways, I've been studying it because I was like, dude, I've increased in followers literally tenfold in a year. Now, granted, I will say both those guys, they are not from the United States, because again, we were in Costa Rica. I think one of them lives in England. So it's just an influx of followers that aren't necessarily my demographic. So
gotcha.
Is it cool that I have a bunch of followers? Yes. Is it beneficial since they're not my ideal following? Not really. And that's something else that we'll get into later, and that I train about is, at the end of the day, I could care less if I've got 1 million followers. All I care about is my sales, right? So if you've got 1 million followers of just random people versus you got 10,000 followers that are exactly like the targeted audience that you need, I'll take the 10,000 all day long.
So it's sexy, but it don't pay the bills.
Right. So.
Well, I just observed that, man. I was just proud of you, man. But thank you so much for coming through, and let's get some content together. This is the first of many. It's only up from here, and we'll see you on the next video. Make sure you follow Zack. Peace.
Appreciate you guys.
Same here, bro.